Hello everyone, welcome to Ballerina Integrated tutorial. I'm Aniruddha Lianarachi, a technical lead on Ballerina team. WSO2 offers two integration products, WSO2 Micro Integrator and WSO2 Ballerina Integrator. In this tutorial, we will focus on building an integration use case using Ballerina Integrator. Ballerina Integrator is a low-code integration development environment with built-in AI assistance. It is powered by Ballerina programming language and enables developers to build powerful integration solutions efficiently. As with all WSO2 products, Ballerina Integrator is 100% open source. It is designed to support complex integration scenarios using a low-code approach. Let's look at what we'll be building for the tutorial. We'll be developing a music for other application. So what does this application do? Let's find out. So it get real-time weather based on your current location. You can provide the location as a parameter. Then it gets the connect to the weather API and gets the current weather based on that location you provide. Then it matches this weather to a music mode. For an example, if the weather is clear, it will match it to happy and upbeat. If it is cloudy, maybe mellow and acoustic music. Then we use that music mode and we ask Spotify, we connect to Spotify API and ask them to provide a playlist that matches that music mode. And finally, we combine the two responses and send it back to the user. So in the right side, you will see the example output that we will be providing. So this is the design for our application. So basically we have music mode as the base path. Then we have one resource called playlist, which will connect to the weather API and Spotify API. And finally return the output as I described earlier. And this will be our tutorial agenda. We will start by installing Ballerina Integrator, then creating a new project and define services, then getting access tokens for these APIs. Then finally, we'll clean the output, extract the data that we retrieve, combine them and return it to the user. Then finally, we will deploy it into the Devant and see some stats with what we can get from Devant. Okay, let's start the tutorial by installing Ballerina Integrator extension to the Visual Studio Code. Ballerina extension requires Ballerina version 12.3 or about to run. I have already installed that one to my machine. If you haven't, you can go to ballerina.io and download Ballerina 12.3 or about to start this one. So I'm going to install Ballerina Integrator to my Visual Studio now. I'm going to go to Code, Settings, and then Extensions. In the search bar, I'm going to search for Ballerina Integrator. And I'm going to click this install icon. This will install Ballerina Integrator and Ballerina plugins to my Ballerina extensions to my Visual Studio Code. Once installation is successful, you will see this BI icon appear on the left side. Click on that one and it will start up Ballerina Integrator homepage. Now that we have installed Ballerina Integrator, let's create an integration project. Navigate to Ballerina Integrator view and click on this create new integration button. Provide a name. I'm going to provide music for weather as the integration name. And I'm going to select the path in my machine for this to save and click on this one. And then I'm going to click on this create integration button. This create the integration project in my machine on the given folder and open up the design view of this Ballerina integrators. Okay, now let's start designing our integration. What we'll be building is an API which accepts the location as an query parameter and return user the output that we need. So this is the API that we are going to create and which has a base path as music mode and a resource as playlist. This resource accepts location as a query parameter. Now we are going to map this API in our VS Code editor. Click on this Add Artifact button, and here under the integration as an API, click on this HTTP service. Here you have HTTP service configuration. By default, it runs on port 9090. You can either change or keep it as it is. Since we want to run it on 9090, I'll keeping it as it is. And service base path, I'm going to give as music mode. And I'm going to click this create button, which will create a base path service with music mode. And by default, the VS Code extension generated default resource called greeting. And I'm going to edit this resource to playlist in order to match our requirement. So this will be a get resource, which resource path name as playlist. And I'm going to add the query parameter that we required called location of type string, and click save. And I'm going to keep the default responses as it is. So we will be returning JSON or error in this resource, and click on save. You can see that it changed. And if I go to the home page again, you will see the design that we have created. So we have a listener which listen with the base path called music mode, and it has a resource called playlist. Now that we have defined our API endpoints, let's add a connection to the weather API and try to get the current locations weather. In your browser, navigate to weatherapi.com. Either sign up or log in. Once you have logged in the dashboard, you will see an API key generated for you. Copy the value of this API key and navigate to the Swagger tool. This defines all the endpoints that is invocable using this weather API. So we'll be using this current JSON endpoint to get the current data. Here, click on this lock icon and paste the value that you have provided as the API key. And click on this tryout button and provide the location as the query parameter. I'm going to provide Colombo and click on this execute button. Once created, you will see this response where it returns the Colombo's current weather. It's partly cloudy, and you can see the API call here, which passes the location as well as the key as a query parameter. Let's try to replicate this request in the Ballerina integrator. Navigate to Ballerina integrator and click on this add artifact button. Here, click on connections under the other artifacts and select HTTP connection. As the connection name we'll provide it as weather API client, and as the URL, we'll copy the value from this path up to v1 and paste it in the integrator. This value should be inside double quotes, and this is expecting a string value. Click on save button, and you can see the application connection is appearing in this design view. Now if you look at the API call, you have to pass the key as a query parameter to this endpoint. The best way to store keys in Ballerina integrator is using a configurable. Now click on this add artifact and go to the configuration. Here, click on this add configurable value, and as the name, provide as weather API key. And here I'm going to provide it as string and save. You will see that configurable value is added to our project. Now we have to create this JSON we have to be able to pass this JSON and get this text value. In order to do that, we have to create the type system in our integration project. So we will be using Ballerina's Integrator's inbuilt type generator from JSON values. So go to this artifacts, add artifact and other artifacts, and click on this type value and click on add type, and as the name, let's provide the name as weather data. This will be a JSON. Click on the JSON and you can provide the JSON value, so it will automatically generate the required ballerina types. Copy this value and paste it here, and click on each separate definitions and click on this import button and click save. Once saved, you will see where the data record is created with all the values correctly passed from the JSON output that we have provided. Now let's try to invoke this endpoint from our playlist resource and get the output. Now that we have configured the API keys, the types that is required, let's try to invoke the weather API endpoint. Navigate to the designer view, then click on this music mode, and let's go to the playlist resource. Click on this playlist resource. It will go you to the flow diagram of that resource function. Now let's add a connection here. Click on this plus sign and it will show you the weather API client under the connection. Click on this one and click the get resource. Now we want to configure the return types here. So we are going to invoke let's add the URL first. We are going to invoke this current JSON endpoint. We'll copy this one and paste it here. Since we are going to substitute these values dynamically, Colombo and the key, we are going to use the ballerina string template. Just click type string and provide a backtick and close this backtick. And we are going to substitute this Colombo value with the query parameter that we retrieve for the service. So we will use remove the Colombo and add a dollar sign and double curly braces and add the location variable here. And as the key, we need to pass the weather API key configurable value that we have defined. Click on dollar sign, add the one, and here we will add weather API key. So the final URL should look like this. We will be invoking the current JSON endpoint with the query parameter as the location that we retrieve as the get playlist endpoint, and the weather key with the API key which is coming from the configurable that we have defined. So the connection is with the API client, and for the response value we will store this one in weather API response variable, or let's write weather response, and this one's type should be a type that we have defined. So that what we defined was weather data, so this should be a weather data type, and click on save. You will see that the connection is made now. Now let's try to return the value that we get to the user. Again click on this plus sign and click return. Search for the return and click on the return control. Here we are going to return the variable that we have defined as weather response, which get the output value of the API invocation call, and click on save. Here what we have done is act as a proxy service for the weather API and return that value directly to the user. Now click on this run button. Since we have defined the configurable, we need a way to provide the key value. So the way to define that one is using the config.toml. Click on this create config.toml file to provide the configuration. Here it asks us a value for the weather API key. So let's copy the value from here and paste it in this config.toml file and close that one and click run. Now you will see the service is getting compiled and running, and it will pop up this test button. You can either click on try it or this test button. You click on this test, it will open a test client with all the resources that we have defined. So as you can see, we defined a localhost 9090 port, music mode base path, playlist, and it accepts a query parameter called location. Let's provide the location, let's say Candy, and try to get the weather data. If you run that, you will see that the value is passed from Candy, and we can get the Candy's current weather. So it's like rain shower at the moment. Now that we have this one, let's map this text condition to a music mode. Let's stop this integration by clicking on the stop integration button available on the top. In order to map these conditions into a music mode, we need a list of all the conditions that are available. In order to download that, navigate to the browser and open the weather API's documentation. Here on the dashboard page, you will see a weather icons and weather lookup code list. Click on this link and you can see the icons are mapped into my icons and condition list. Download this CSV file, the second link, and open the downloads folder. Change this one into a txt file so we can paste so we can use this one in the AI module to generate the music to weather mapping. Then navigate back to this Ballerina integrator. We will close this try it window for now and click on this open AI panel button. It will open a copilot, WSO2 copilot. Here you are going to attach the file that we have downloaded. Click on this attach context and navigate to the path and download this, upload this weather condition.txt file to here. Now we are going to generate the function. So we will use this generate command, a function which accepts weather code as a parameter and returns a string that matches a suitable music mode for that weather. So we provide this condition.txt file and we ask the AI agent to generate a function which accepts the weather code as a parameter and returns a string that matches a suitable music mode for the weather. We will want like let's say 10 music modes. Let's say there should be at least 10 music modes, and we'll ask this AI to generate this. Click on this send button. It will generate the function which accept the icon code, weather code, and returns us a music details. Okay, so it gives us how the mapping is done. So clear sunny condition, it will be upbeat and happy. Rain, it will be calm and relaxing, etc. So it has generator function. You can expand it and see. You can see the generation is completed, and you can see all the weather codes are mapped and values has been generated. So it will be added to the functions file, and it has already changed our music mode weather code as well. Just click on this add to integration button, and you can see that it has created a music mode variable, and it already changed the location to return type to append the music mode as well. Now let's try the function. Click on run again. Test. Yeah, let's give another test. Colombo. Run. You can see the location, weather, and the matching laidback is changed. Now let's try to connect to Spotify API and get the list of playlist that matches this music mode. Click on stop one. As you can see that music mode is too lengthy. It has chilly indie matching the laid back cloud vibe as well. We only need this chilly indie type as the music. Let's ask our AI copilot to change this one. Let's open this AI chat window again, and we will say change the function to only the music mode without description. It will generate the code, and we can expand and see what it has generated. As you can see, it just generate a simple mode now. We'll just say click add to integration, and it should be there. Let's run it again. Test. Say candy and run. Okay, it's now calm. Okay, now let's try to connect this one into Spotify and search for calm music playlists. Stop the integration. In your browser, navigate to developer.spotify API, developer.spotify.com, and log in. I'll be using my Gmail, and navigate to this dashboard section and click on create application. Here just create music for weather. I'm using the same description, and as the redirect URL, let's add some dummy URL 90, and we will only require access for the web API, and click I understand and save. This will generate music for weather application, and click on that one. You should see client ID and client secret generate for your application. Navigate to the documentation section and click on this web API to see the available APIs. So we will be using this search endpoint for search for playlist. Change the type as playlist, and we will see for calm playlists. Just click on try it, and it should return a list of Spotify playlists that has calm songs like calm singer songs and calm English songs, etc. So this is a bit complex JSON. Let's try to replicate this result in Ballerina Integrator. First, let's add two configurables to store client ID and client secret. Navigate to the configuration section and add two more configurables. Client ID, let's say Spotify client ID, and this should be string type. Save. Add one more. Secret should be a string as well, and save. And let's add a connection to as well. Click on add current effects, connection, HTTP, and we will say Spotify client. And as the URL, we will add api.spotify client v1 inside double quotes and save. So we need to configure both two options as well, because we are using O2 to connect client ID and client secret. Let's expand the advanced section, and here we have this auth connection system. Here we will click on this one and go to the O2 client credential runtime. And we will select this one. It will generate a token, all the necessary requirement to add this value. So as the token URL, we will specify HTTPS verify Spotify's token refresh URL, this one. As the client ID, we will use the client ID from the configurable. You can see configurable Spotify client ID. As the secret, we will use the Spotify client secret. And click on save. Now you can see that this one is configured with all options. Client ID and client secret also configured. Now let's make a connection to this one. Before that, we need to add a type as well. So let's go to the artifacts and types and add a type. So this one we will get the name as Spotify playlist, and we will import this one from a JSON. Let's copy this response. Let's copy a simple like 5. Let's copy this JSON. Not and import. Click on this is separate definitions and import, and click save. This will generate a complex JSON that can be mapped directly into APIs, the response of the Spotify. Click on this one, and here we have to do some modification. As if you can see this JSON output, there are null responses for the payloads. Inside these items, you can see there are some null responses as well. See, these ones are null. So we need to support this one. In order to do that, we have to make this one. We have to make this one as optional type. And also previous also we have a JSON, but it is also optional. We will save and click on save. Now you can see that this one has been changed, and we have generated the complex JSON as a type that we require to hold the response of Spotify API. Now let's invoke this Spotify API using the resource that we created. Let's navigate to the playlist resource. Click on this playlist, and let's start another API client connection. Here, after the music mode, here we will go to Spotify client, get, and the URL we will provide as a we'll copy that one from here. Search. We will use a string template here as well because we want to substitute the value. Search, and Q should be dollar. You can get this music mode from the above, where we hit the value into a variable by method call, and then type as playlist. Okay, this is the URL, and we can Spotify response into a variable as Spotify response, and the type should be Spotify playlist. Click on save. Okay, we got this response. Let's try to print it. Let's try to edit this return to have the Spotify playlist in the result as well. Here we will append another one called playlist. We will get Spotify response. We will mark this one to JSON string. Let's click on save and try to run this example. Okay, we have to add those new values that we have defined. So I have to copy Tomer and copy these values. Client ID and the client secret. Okay, let's try to run this again. Say London. Okay, we get London is sunny and upbeat. We get a list of upbeat Spotify responses. So this one is very hard to read and quite bulky. So we need to convert it to a better format. Let's try to do that in the next step. Let's stop the integration. As you can see that this result is quite complex with lot of junk values. What we need is a simple response as discussed in the above presentation, which contains name, artist, and the URL. Okay, now let's create some types for all this new data, new transform data. So we will create the type, go to add artifacts, type, and add a type. Here, let's say we want to store that our name, like what was there, name, artist, and URL in a playlist. Let's give it as playlist info type, and we will just add the values by hand because it's not much complex. Name, URL, and the artist. Save. It will generate the new type. We will add another type called music suggestion for as the final type. This will have data like location, then weather, music mode, and playlist. Can't save. This playlist will be a type of the object that we have created earlier, playlist info, and it will be an array. We'll mark it by this notation. Click on save, and you will see the connection is being made. Music suggestion. It contains a playlist info array. Now let's populate this music suggestion value using a data map. Okay, let's try to add a data mapper so that we can generate this music suggestion from the data that we have collected. Okay, go to the home page, add artifact, and on the other artifacts, click data map. We will keep this transform function as it is, the name as the name, and we will pass the weather data as a parameter. It should be of type weather data, and another parameter called Spotify data should be of Spotify playlist type. And finally, this function should return a music suggestion type data. And we can select create. Okay, so we get this data mapper view where we can manually select and map this one like location name to location, etc. On the left side, we have all the input parameters, weather data, and the Spotify data. On the right side, we have the expected values. You can simply click this one and click this one to add a mapping, direct mapping. But we will be using this auto map function to generate this one. Click on this auto map function and it will already generate the prompt and execute this one. So this is an AI generated one. Of course, there will be errors and we will have to fix them. Let's check the code. Okay, so the location is mapped correctly, weather is mapped correctly, but the music mode is not matched correctly, right? We should invoke the function that we have written, get music mode for the weather, and substitute that value. And we have generated the playlist by using the query expression as well. Let's add this to integration and try to solve this on our own. Okay, and once that is done, since there's an error, we can go to the code view and edit this. So you can go to this code view by clicking on this code icon, show source button, where it will expose this error. So we will change this one music mode into a using the function that we have created. So we will invoke this get music mode for weather function with the weather data. current condition dot code we have to pass the comma. Okay, finally it's ready. Let's try and reload this variable function. Navigate to data mapper. It should display correctly. Okay, so the name is mapped to name, condition is mapped to condition, whether is likewise it has automatically generated, and we have fixed any errors that has already occurred. Okay, now let's try to run this one and click on this test function. In here we will say let's say Colombo and get the results. Okay, but we will still get these results because we didn't change the return type. Let's stop this one and change the return type of this playlist. Okay, go to the playlist. Here we are returning the location data, the earlier format that we have. Now what we want to do is invoke this transfer method function that we have created and return that value. So we will change the accept weather data. So weather data is in the variable called weather response. And the playlist data is available on Spotify response. And we'll close this one and save. Okay, the return type changed, and let's try to run it now. Okay, it's working. Now let's try to test this one. And as the location, let's say candy. Run this. Okay, we get calm is slight rain shower, and the music mode is calm, and we get calm playlist, and we have handled null pointers into the empty values. You can try to, as an exercise, you can remove these empty values on your. Now let's try another location, Colombo, Proud, and let's say London. Okay, it's also partly cloudy and it gets a chill. Okay, now since this is running, now let's try to deploy this one in Devant and see some stats of this API. Let's stop this service and navigate to the Devant site. In order to deploy this application, you need to commit this data into a GitHub repository. So you can navigate to this Explorer menu and commit all the files except for the config.toml. I have committed all the files except for the config.toml file, which was it contains API key values that is required to connect to the backend API. If you look at this one, we have this weather API key in this config.toml. So don't commit that one into GitHub repo. Now let's go to try to deploy this one in the Devant. Here on the home page under the deployment option, we can click deploy into Devant. You will be prompted to log in to Devant. Open, and you can use your credentials to log into Devant. Once it is completed, you will be redirect to this Devant development page. Here it will list all the organization that you have. If you are a new user, you will be prompted to create a new organization when you log in for the first time to Devant. So I'll be using my own organization called Anuruddha, and I'm going to create a new project for this one. Let's say music project and another project name music for weather. Once I provide these details, it will create an integration. Name will be music for weather and GitHub repo all will be automatically mapped. Then go to this build details, keep it them as it is, and click on summary and click create. This will deploy the application into Dev. Okay, once this one is deployed, you can see the prompt to open in Devant. Click on this one. It will open a Devant on your browser. If not, you can use this console.devant.dev and navigate to your product. I'll be logging again. Okay, as you can see, the details are taken and currently it is building my project. Let's go to this build view and we can see the details of this build. Let's wait for a few seconds to make it build. Okay, now the build is completed. Still it's building. Let's wait a few more seconds. Okay, the build is completed. Now let's go to this overview page again. So now it's trying to deploy this application into the test environment. So you can see that it is getting error. You can go to this deploy option and see this one. Let's see what's the error is. Okay, go to the overview page again and view logs. As you can see that we haven't provided this client ID and secret, so therefore it can't start this application. Click on this configure to continue button and let's add the configurations required. Okay, so it will ask us to enter the configurable values that we have defined. Navigate to this page and file explorer config.toml. Here you can add these values and here the corresponding place. Click on next. Now let's click apply. So this will start redeploying the application with the configuration that we have provided, and now it is active. If you go to this deploy step, you can see that application is deployed to the deployment environment. Now let's try to test this one. So we have one endpoint displayed here, get playlist, and we can go to this test endpoint console. Here we can get a test key. It will generate a key and we can click on this try it out button and provide the location. Let's say candy and execute. Okay, since this is deployed and we get the result correctly. Okay, now we can deploy this one into production. So navigate to this deploy option and click on this promote button where it will deploy the application into production environment. Here we will be using the development configuration as we don't change the top access keys. So click on that use development configuration and click next. It will confirm, then click next. and click promote. It will start production development. Okay, now the production development is completed. Let's try to access this one, the production endpoints using the keys. So this production endpoint will be fronted by an API gateway with API management capabilities. So we have to create application and subscribe to access this endpoint. Navigate to the developer portal in this button. Here you will see the API that is available. Go to these applications and create a new application. Provide the name as music app and create it. And let's subscribe the API for this application. Navigate to this application and click on this subscribe to APIs. Here we have this weather API, and then we can subscribe it to the music app. Click subscribe. Once subscribed, go back to application again and click on this application and click generate keys. This will generate all two credentials, consumer key and secret, to access this API endpoint. Now let's generate a refresh token and try to access this endpoint using that access token using the curl command. Let me open up a text editor and paste this value as the bearer token. So I have created a sample curl command which is a get with passes application, and as the authorization bearer header I'll be pasting this value. And let's get the URL for this API. Navigate to this production endpoint settings and copy this URL. Here I'm going to paste that one, and inside here we have to pass the resource and the query parameter. Say Colombo. Let me copy this one and paste it in a terminal, and you can see we can get the results. Let me try another location. And you can get different results. Now let's see some matrices. You can navigate to this music for weather API that they want, and you can go to this observability matrices directory. So it will show the requests that we have received, the memory latency, CPU usage, memory usage, etc. in here. And if you go to logs, you can see runtime logs as well. Okay, this is a day one. Let's try to change something and deploy it again, how it handles. So the change what I'm going to do is I want to remove this null playlist from the response. Let's ask our AI agent to remove that part. So I'm asking AI agent to remove empty playlist value from the music suggestion record. And it should generate the code for removing these empty values. So let's see what's generated. In the data mapper, it is running a ballerina select statement or a query expression to remove this one. Let's add this one to integration, and let's try it locally first. Run this one. There's the location. Let's provide London. Okay, so it has removed all the null entries from the playlist. Now let's try to deploy this one into Deva. Let me stop this integration, and I'm going to commit this code into my repository. Navigate to the home page again and open source control. Here you can see the changes that you have made it. And we can see that the data mapping file has changed. Let me add a commit message and push this change. Let's say commit this one and do a push. Okay, the application should be updated. Let me refresh this one. So we have this remove empty playlist from the response, and let's see how we can integrate this one into Devan. As you can see, a build has already been triggered with the changes that I have done, and it is currently on this commit with this message. Navigate to deploy section, and let's wait for the build to continue. Once build is completed, we can go to deploy, and we can promote this change into development. Click deploy, so it will create a change in deploy development environment. Reload this one. You can see that it is progressing at the moment, and it is currently active. Let's try this one. Go to the test console, get test key, try it, and here let's say Paris, execute. You can see the results have returned uh, without any empty values. So all these ones have correct results. Now let's promote this one into production. Go to deploy again and click promote. It will ask for the configurations again. And click next and promote. Okay, now it is deployed into production. Let's use the same curl command that we used again to see whether if it is working. Okay, we get the results and there are no empty values. So this concludes our demo. Hope you have learned what Ballerina Integrator and Devant can do. If you have any questions, you can always reach us via our Discord channel. Thank you.